Hey guys, it's LynkPlaysGames. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to our life. The next morning you were up bright and early preparing for the day ahead. I had slept well. You fell asleep before you knew it and woken up rested. Mom whined a bit about the firmness of the mattress, but Mom had already encouraged her to enjoy the trip while she could. While you were looking for a spot to get ready, you had some trouble finding space of your own as the others were doing the same thing. Cove was perched on top of the counter, brushing his hair and tucking up his legs every time someone wanted to move past. The parents were checking, double-checking, and triple-checking that you had everything, to the point where you had stopped listening to them altogether. You knew you wouldn't be returning to the RV at all that day, but by the look of the backpacks that were packed up and ready to go, you doubted anything was missing from them. It didn't take much longer until you all exited the RV in a bustle and headed into the Redwood National Park. I want to go here so bad one day. I'm willing to bet if I just told Yellow, like, hey, we're gonna go here, he'd be like, alright, bet. When? Which car are we taking? Are we taking yours or mine? Probably his, because his could actually hold more stuff. And of course we'd take Millie with us, so like, his would be best. But anyways, he likes driving and he wouldn't mind the adventure. Wow. Cove had tilted his head up towards the canopy of trees, his eyes wide as he took in the massive trunks on either side of you. You knew that the redwood trees were considered the tallest trees on Earth, but you weren't prepared for exactly how huge they'd be in person.
Come on!
Smile, you two. You spun just in time for Kira to snap a picture of you and Cove together before she pointed her camera at Cliff, trying to get a shot despite his weak protest that she should just enjoy the moment. Your parents were walking behind the group a little, with Mom telling Ma some information that she had read about the park in a brochure. Ma listened happily while looking around, taking in the sights, every now and then asking a question or making a joke about something Mom had said. You smiled at them, thinking your mom must have read a lot of pamphlets just to know so much about the park. Maybe you should come and work here as a tour guide, if you know so much about the place. Elizabeth teased, earning a squeeze on the nose from your mom. She seemed to be enjoying herself, but you thought that that might just be because she was amused by everyone else's reaction. I was in awe. I'm pretty sure I would be. I would love it. Even though I'm already like really short, so trees compared to me are ginormous. I could only imagine how microscopic I would feel next to these things. Cause like people who are like average height, a little bit taller than average height, say that these trees just like dwarf you basically. Like it makes you just feel so small, like an ant. And I could only imagine that I would literally feel like a microscopic thing. Anyways, surrounding you on either side, the enormous trees shot up into the sky, the sunlight peeking through their canopy and speckling path in front of you. The sheer size of the redwoods made you feel like a tiny ant bustling along through the forest. See? Like, I wonder how small I would feel, because, like, I guess technically I would be the same size as I would be in the game, so I guess I would feel like an ant, if not smaller. The adults had decided on some casual nature walks rather than any serious hiking, and you strolled along at your own pace, taking in the scenery. Elizabeth sped up a little, smirking at Cove as she fell into place between the two of you. Immediately you could tell by her expression she was gonna say something taunting. I can't believe our families are actually on vacation together. She threw her arms out, speaking with a genuine sense of bewilderment. I would have joked about something like this happening, but now I'm not sure I want to give them any more ideas. Cove smiled at her, even if it was a little awkwardly, and continued walking along. Just watch, next year they'll be talking about their next new amazing idea. She put on a fake voice deeper than her own. We should just sell our houses and move in together. Think of how much fun or how much we'll save on the mortgage. It was clear that Elizabeth was being sarcastic. Cove simply shook his head, not really bothered by her. You suppose he was used to it by this point. But seriously, they really do act like we're a single family just because we live across the street from each other. Elizabeth gave you and Cove a look, her eyes glinting with mischief as she leered at you.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we will be related, legally anyway. She said that as though she was a gossipy old lady. But she almost immediately dropped the tone and nonchalantly said her real thoughts. At least that's what Ma thinks. Cove still blushed, which made Elizabeth smile triumphantly, as though that was her whole purpose for teasing him. Then he mumbled quietly, refusing to make eye contact with either of you. I don't know why you think you're so funny when no one else does. You don't need to ruin the day with that. Oh, I thought you would be happy someone put the idea into Cove's head. I don't think he's making plans about marrying anyone right now. I mean, they're in middle school, aren't they? I mean, I suppose, like, you think about that. Like, as a kid, you think about, oh, growing up and marrying, like, your middle school crush. But, like, with the way Cove is, I don't think Cove is thinking that at all. As for me and Jello, one day. Millie Pup, are we gonna teach you how to carry a basket of petals that you could just shake your head around? And you could be the flower girl? I would let you be the ring bearer, but I can't trust you not to eat things. Anyways. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Cove frowned and reddened harder, but pretended to ignore what she was saying. The day continued on with plenty to see and experience. You passed a few different activities that you would have liked to try out if you had the time, such as kayaking, rock climbing, but Ma said that would have to wait for another trip. There was a little stream during the walk that you sat beside and set out a picnic for lunch, nibbling on a selection of fruit, sandwiches, and chips. Various birds flew overhead, and you made a game out of guessing the species that were hanging out in the trees nearby. You even managed to get a couple of them right, including the kingfisher that grabbed half of Cliff's sandwich. I can only imagine. I could see Cliff jumping up and trying to fight this bird over a sandwich. Just glad we got to do this. It was definitely a special experience, and one you'd remember for a long time to come. You smiled to yourself, committing the sights and sounds to memory. Your group made it back to camp just as the sun was setting in the sky and the stars were appearing one by one. Everyone had enjoyed different parts of it most. You traded stories of what you thought while you were eating dinner, then afterwards you pitched in to help clean up. You, along with Elizabeth and Cove, got to head back to the RV early and spend some time together while the parents stayed outside longer. It was nice to have the space to yourselves after the cramped journey there. While Elizabeth had locked herself in the back room with her headphones, you and Cove were left in the main lounge area. Hung out with Cove. We might as well get comfortable. Who knows how long they'll be out for. You took a seat on the sofa while Cove sat down on the other end, tapping his fingers against his knees. Hello, son. Your cheeks warmed a little at that. Being close to him never failed to feel exciting. You had seen Cove nearly every day for the past 5 years, but seeing him in a jacket was still somewhat unusual. In Southern California, he could get away with that. It was a simple difference from his normal style, yet you couldn't help noticing the way he looked right now. It looked great on him. In fact, Cove always looked nice. When Cove cleared his throat, your eyes snapped to his. He had an eyebrow raised and clearly caught you staring at him.
What?
Hi. Hey guys, real quick, so if you guys want to help support my channel, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. You could also share this video. You can follow me over on Twitch, and also check out my Redbubble for all my merch and invisible illness designs. I even got some fan art over there, and typically if a content creator, plays with me, I do make some fan art for them occasionally, so be sure to head over there, check it all out. There's a lot of good stuff on there. Tons of stickers, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, just a lot of stuff on there. And also, if you don't, Hayes and Millie will judge you. They will judge you severely, because this money goes towards help buying them treats and getting Millie some chew toys so she doesn't chew up my Switch or another Xbox controller. But anyways, let's get back into the video. That looks nice on you. Okay. He didn't say anything more than that one-word question. You decided to elaborate further. I hardly ever see you wearing a jacket, especially in summer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like wearing as few layers as possible. It's easier that way. I'd rather be cold than extra hot. It's kind of a pain to carry extra clothes around. My parents made me bring this jacket. I'm the same way. They're bulky and heavy and usually make me feel too warm. I say that as I have a cardigan on over a tank top. Cove smiled lightly at you and nodded. You perked up hearing that. He noticed you too. Change the subject. That conversation had run its course. Instead, you asked Cove about what else he would have liked to do in the park if he had more time here. The two of you ended up chatting about various outdoor activities available: kayaking, rock climbing, hiking, horseback riding, wildlife walks. There were so many things to potentially choose from. What? Oh, that's what I forgot to tell Jello we gotta do one day. You made an agreement that if one of you had ever had the chance to come back, you'd bring the other two. That way you could try it all together again. There better be a DLC where Cove keeps that promise. The parents all arrived soon after, each of them climbing into the RV, finding some place to sit down and rest their legs. Elizabeth, having heard the commotion, came out from the room for the first time since arriving and joined you all. You spent the evening chatting, playing a few games, enjoying the last evening of the trip together. Bedtime arrived, and within the blink of an eye, as the group hunkered down for the night, your mom did a final round to be sure nothing had been left behind. She explained that Cliff was going to start driving early in the morning, like on the first day, but would be letting everyone else in the group sleep. There wouldn't be a need for all of them to get up. Now is the time to check you haven't left anything outside. You, as well as everyone else, were confident you had it all packed up inside the RV, which meant it was time to get some rest before the journey home tomorrow. Your moms and Elizabeth said goodnight, heading into the back room while you climbed up to the loft. Cove and his family got situated below in the previous set arrangement. You tried to get comfortable as a million thoughts were running through your mind. It was hard to believe that the trip was practically over, and before you knew it, you'd be back in your own bed at home. You enjoyed it. It was short, and that was for sure, but you got to see and do so much during your time here. All in all, it was a nice break away from home. The minutes ticked by silently. It didn't take long for the soft snores of Cliff and Kira to drift up to you. They were asleep now. You wondered if Cove was still awake and decided to poke your head out from the loft to find out. You blinked through the dark. Looking down the hall, you noticed Cove laying on his back, his eyes staring straight up at the ceiling. His seafoam hair was spread out on his sleeping bag. He must have felt you watching him because suddenly his eyes locked on yours. It was difficult to see much in the dim light, but you could make out the crooked smile on his face well enough. Cove shrugged in his bed while still smiling, or at least you thought he did. He looked unsure about it, but you were happy to see him slowly start to sit up anyway. His sleeping bag rustled as he moved, though he tried to go slow and froze up like a deer in headlights every time he made a sound, watching his parents for any sign of movement. Eventually, he managed to maneuver around his sleeping dad and make it to the ladder, standing on the bottom rung where he looked up at you and whispered, "What?" I guess invite him up." His eyes widened just so. You could only tell because he had come to where you were. Cove glanced behind him quickly at his sleeping parents before returning back to you. "Okay." You broke out into a grin and scooched back as far as you could, making space for Cove to crawl in. He was very tall, so it wasn't a great fit for him, but he managed to squeeze himself in. Luckily, you were short enough to leave him with some room. You laid down next to each other on your sides. Face to face, he got under the blanket for a bit. One of his arms was nestled under his head for comfort, the other had nowhere to go, and was rested alongside his chest on the floor of the loft. Cove spoke to you softly. "So what am I doing here?" "I don't know." "Why are you here?" Cove raised an eyebrow, giving you a disbelieving look, and you shrugged as much as the space would allow. "I'm not sure about this." Cove swallowed loudly, and you noticed he wouldn't look you in the eyes anymore. It seemed natural to have him near you, and being close like this only made it better. You thought back on the trip with the little moments you'd gotten to spend together with Cove. It felt like this trip definitely had brought you two together even more, not just physical in the same space. You inched towards Cove slowly, your legs pressing together in a very limited space. Cove's face flushed dark, with enough to notice even in the almost pitch black RV cabin. The hand resting in front of him tightened, balling into a fist. "You okay?"
"Yeah."
"I'm fine. I'm not dying or anything." Cove's eyebrows bent up nervously, his smile widened. He followed your lead and curled himself deeper into the loft and closer to you. He looked away as he did it. There was almost no space left between he and you. Cove's breath tickled the side of your face. For a moment you stayed together like that. Neither of you spoke a word, but when your eyes locked again, Cove seemed almost taken aback by the situation, as though it hadn't completely hit him what it was going to feel like to do this until just now. This sounds so much worse than it actually is. Jello is probably going to be very confused. He opened his mouth to say something, but shut it tight before anything came out. You closed the distance completely and nuzzled your face into his chest. You could hear his heart beating rapidly. Cove stiffened up and let out a yelp, which he quickly bit down his lip to stifle. He gave you an apologetic look. This still wasn't bad for him, just surprising. After a few more moments, he settled in, his breath deep and steady. He rested his chin against the top of your head. You could peek up and see him smiling, and it made you happier to know that he was enjoying the moment too. The two of you fell asleep before long, cuddled up together. Uh-oh. When you woke up the next morning, it was to the rumble of the RV as it traveled the long journey home. You noticed quickly that you weren't as warm as you had been during the night, and when you checked next to you, Cove was gone. Blinking sleepily, you peeked over the edge of the loft to find where he had gone. Maybe he'd snuck back down to a spot on the floor during the night. However, soon you noticed him sitting on the couch, talking quietly with his mom, his head hung in embarrassment. Your movement gave you away, and Kira suddenly looked up and caught your eye. She simply smiled amused at you, and it was obvious what happened. Cove hadn't gotten away with it. They found him there in the loft, and then you woke up while he was trying to explain. You knew it was going to be a long time before you lived this down, if you ever did. Oops. Soon your moms and Elizabeth emerged from their room dressed ready for the day of travel. You spent most of the day hanging out in the RV together, savoring the last few hours of vacation. Kira suggested a few different travel games she used to play with Cove when he was younger, and you all had a great time competing against each other. A little later in the day, you tried to talk to Cove about what happened in the loft, but he simply apologized and changed the subject. It was a bit too much for him to try speaking on, especially right now. You understood. When the RV finally pulled onto your street, it was well into the night, and you were looking forward to crawling into your own bed after the last few days away. Everyone else must have been feeling the same, because it was mutually agreed that unpacking and cleaning the RV would wait until morning. Once home again, you went straight up to your room and dropped onto your bed, shoes and all. Wished I was still on the trip. There was so much more you wanted to see and do. Being away from home had a special kind of feeling to it. It was sad that it ended. With those last few thoughts drifting through your mind, it wasn't long until you dozed off to sleep. Tomorrow, life would go on like normal. Alright, so that is the end of it. So I am going to end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment down below if you are excited to get into step 3. I feel like this is going to be over before we know it, and there's still a DLC. I could always get the DLC and come back. Maybe. I'm debating on it. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!